नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 4, entitled Drumila Explains the Incarnations of Godhead to King Nimi, verse 10. Tvam sevatam surakrita, tvam sevatam surakrita, baho antaraya, sauko vilangya, paramam rajatam padam te, nanyasya barhishi balin dadatasvabhagan, datte padam tvamavita yadi vignamurdhni. Translation and purport by the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai and Srila ki jai. Translation: the demigods place many obstacles on the path of those who worship you. To transcend the temporary abodes of the demigods and reach your supreme abode, those who offer the demigods their assigned shares in sacrificial performances encounter no such obstacles. But because you are the direct protector of your devotee, he is able to step over the head of whatever obstacle the demigods place before him. In purport, the demigods headed by Kamadev or Cupid, recognizing their offense at the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead Naranarayan Rishi, here point out the insignificant position of the demigods in relation to the Supreme Lord. Just as a farmer must pay a specific percentage of his agricultural profit to the king or political head as tax money, all human beings must offer a percentage of their material wealth to the demigods in sacrifice. In Bhagavad Gita, however, the Lord explains that the demigods are also his servants, and it is he himself who awards all benedictions through the agency of the demigods. Mayaiva vihitan hitan. Although a Vaishnava or devotee of the Lord has no need to worship the demigods, being proud of their exalted material position, sometimes resent the exclusive devotion of the Vaishnava to the Lord and thus try to cause the devotee to fall down, as described in this verse. Surakrita Bahavo Antarayaha. But the demigods here point out that Krishna is directly the protector of his devotees. Therefore, so-called impediments become stimuli for further spiritual advancement for a sincere devotee. The demigods here state, we thought, our dear Lord, that we could disturb your consciousness by our foolish tricks. But by your mercy, even your devotees pay little regard to us. So why should you take our foolish behavior seriously? The word yadi here is used to indicate the certainty that Krishna is always the protector of his surrendered devotees. Although there may be many obstacles on the path of the sincere devotee who is preaching the glories of the Lord, such obstacles increase the determination of the devotee. Therefore, according to Srila Jiva Goswami, the continuous obstacles presented by the demigods form a kind of ladder or stairway upon which the devotee steadily progresses back to the kingdom of God. A similar verse appears in Srimad Bhagavatam 10:2-33. Tatanate madhavata kvachit brashyanti margat tvai sauhrida tvaya bhigupta vicharanti nirbhaya vinayakani kapa murda supravo. O Madhava, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord of the Goddess of Fortune, if devotees completely in love with you sometimes fall from the path of devotion, they do not fall like non-devotees, for you still protect them. Thus they fearlessly traverse the heads of their opponents and continue to progress in devotional service. Om Jnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Ena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubheva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langete Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatare Raman Shri Chaitanya Krishna. Reading the verse again. This is the translation. The demigods place many obstacles on the path of those who worship you to transcend the temporary abodes of the demigods and reach your supreme abode. Those who offer the demigods their assigned shares in sacrificial performances encounter no such obstacles. But because you are the direct protector of your devotee, he is able to step over the head of whatever obstacle the demigods places before him. So thank you, everyone, begging everyone's blessings. And here, this is chapter 4 of the Canto 11, which is discussing the various avatars of the Lord. As Nimi Maharaj is asking these questions, the sage named Drumila, one of the Navayogendras, is answering the questions of Nimi Maharaj. So in this fourth chapter, mainly Drumila is describing the Supreme Lord, his avatars, qualities, and the pastimes. Because in the last chapter, the third chapter, 48th verse, it was said that the devotee should worship the Supreme Lord. In the particular personal form of the Lord, the devotee finds most attractive. That was mentioned in the previous chapter when the answers to King Nimi about what do you call karma yoga was asked. Then deity worship was elaborately explained. So in the course of explaining deity worship, it was mentioned that how the devotee should worship the Supreme Lord in the particular personal form of the Lord that the devotee finds most attractive. So then the natural question that comes to the mind of King Nimi is, what are the various forms of the Lord? Because then I will know what is the most attractive form that I feel inclined to worship the Supreme Lord. So this is a question about the forms of the various avatars that the Supreme Lord takes in this world. Very specifically, this chapter also asks not about the avatars which has already come. He asks very clearly, what are the forms of the Lord, or who is the Lord? What are the various forms of the Lord? Various forms in which the Lord is performing pastimes now, currently. In his present, he is asking because it is Satya Yuga. And also, he asks, what are the various pastime or forms of the Lord that he will take in the future? So, uh, so this chapter is an important chapter because this will also uh, speak about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because the future avatars are also discussed in this particular chapter. And we know Gaur Purnima is also coming. So here, this chapter will eventually cover some verses which will directly refer to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. However, the question is very clear. Why he is asking this question? Because it came from the seed of the previous chapter, in order to know the various attractive forms of the Supreme Lord. And the question also includes not just the past incarnations, uh, as mostly we all discuss about the past incarnations, including Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In that sense, there's hardly Kali is one avatar which is left in the future for us. However, for Nimi Maharaj, there are more avatars that are contemporary, as well as they'll come in the future for him. So he includes past, present, and future in his question. And the sage Drumila, he also begins to answer. Initially, he explains about the Purusha avatars in a couple of verses. Then he explains about the Guna avatars. There's Brahma, Mahesh, Vishnu. And after them, he speaks about Naranarayan Rishi, and he explains the pastimes of Naranarayan Rishi, that how Indra became fearful and all that. In connection to that, now the demigods are praying to Naranarayan Rishi after their tricks have been nullified or neutralized, or even they have been bewildered by Naranarayan Rishi's power. So, in that context, they are praying this verse that the Devatas place many obstacles on the path of those who worship the Supreme Lord, because they surpass Swarga and they try to attain Vaikuntha Loka, and the demigods might feel envy. So that's what Vishnu Chakravarti also writes, that uh, the Devatas are saying, what to speak of you, even your devotees do not care for us. Because they have your mercy, even they can overcome our power. What to speak of you, the Supreme Lord? So we might create some obstacles for the devotees. And naturally, why do they? Why do they create? Because the devotee surpasses the Swarga and tries to attain beyond the material universe, Vaikuntha, or the other spiritual planets. So that's why the Devatas become envious of the devotees. Therefore, they actually create obstacles. Of For the performers of karma, they may not place similar obstacles. Why? Because they give proper share of sacrifice to Indra and others. So they are all like obeying them, and also they may not be able to supersede them. So that is why naturally they place obstacles for devotees, because they do not engage in uh, attaining Swarga or anything. They're trying to surpass them. So will my devotees fall because of your obstacles? That is a question mentally is raised in the commentary. And the demigods say no. And that the word yadi is used in the verse. Certainly, the devotees do not fall because of the obstacles placed by the demigods, because the Lord is that Krishna or Narayan is the Lord of even the Devatas. And also the nature of the Lord is the protector of a devotee. So the devotee one who puts the feet of the Supreme Lord on their head, they have no obstacles. So that's why there is no worry for the obstacles of the demigods for a devotee. However, the theme here we can see is how there is envy even in the hearts of the demigods. So it's not the simple envy of a rival who wants your stuff. It's a more subtle envy. So, and similarly, we can see sometimes within practitioners also the envy can show up, because uh, envy, as they say, is one of the finer emotions or anarthas. So it's quite natural that uh, even a practicing devotee can can develop this envy for other practitioners and create difficulties. And it is usually said how it's very natural to become insecure as a human being. It's quite I would say understandable for people to become insecure, as not, because as a practicing devotee, one may not be actually perfect, and may have insecurity about things. However, to develop envy is a different thing from insecurity. Basically, acting on that insecurity, doing things that undermines actively someone else. So, acting out of insecurity and doing things that would actually cause some kind of difficulty or harm. So that is considered as envy. When insecurity is usually acted upon, then it turns into active envy, and it could be quite harmful for one's devotional service. And envy is usually shown. Insecurity, more than insecurity, envy is usually shown in the form of speaking bad about others. It is said that uh, a once a king wanted to offer charity, so he actually invited all the famous scholars in his kingdom. So he sent a message, and a lot of scholars actually assembled. And in order to, then they all discussed various subject matters. And after that, he wanted to feed all the scholars in order to actually respect them and give them gifts in line with the customs. So he arranged for a big feast. All the sages, all the scholars, they were actually made to sit, and the king personally brought them food placed in a very nice decorated plate. And in this way, he respected each and every scholar, and he brought them food, and he fed everyone. And because he is the host, he did not eat. Rather, he made all the scholars eat. So after all the scholars ate, they all actually fainted soon, and they fell dead. So all the scholars of his kingdom, they all actually dropped dead. And they say, and the king was very confused, because that he didn't know what happened suddenly. And when they inquired, and they realized that there was a particular preparation which was left uncovered, and an eagle was carrying a snake, and the snake's poison fell. The snake was cobra. The poison was very powerful, and the poison oozing from the lips of the snake actually fell into the pot, multiple drops, because the eagle was flying above. And all the when Emiraj actually inquired, and he found out the reason was, this is the reason. So Chitragupta could not actually blame any particular person, because the king did not know. That was not his intention. He did not know, or he did not want to kill any of them. The cook did not have the intention, because that is not his job, or he was just doing his job. It was not his intention to kill anyone. It was an accidental thing. And the eagle and the snake, they also did not do it intentionally. So Chitragupta was very confused who to pin down the sin of killing so many people, because um, none of them had the intention to actually kill. It just so happened. So Chitragupta was confused whom to blame, pin the blame, or whom to put the blame on. And after a while, another scholar wanted to receive some benefits from this king. So he was asking the root for the king's palace. So there was an old lady sitting, and when he inquired that old lady, I'm a scholar and I want to get some donations from the king for me to be able to continue my scholarly work. Where can I actually find the king's palace? And the old lady said, please don't go, he will kill you. And that is when Chitragupta finally said, oh, I resolved the case. I know who to pin the blame on. And when Yamaraj asked who, he said this lady, because she did not really inquire and just pinned the blame on the king or blamed the king. She will take the sins of committing the murder for all of the scholars. So it's a neati story. We don't need to dig down the story further, but the point of the story is how fault finding or speaking bad about others is one strong sign of envy. And here we see how the demigods create obstacles because they were very specifically envious of Naranarayan Rishi. They thought Naranarayan Rishi is just another sage performing great austerities. And they were very worried, especially Indra was very worried that Naranarayan Rishi would take away his position without knowing he's the Supreme Lord and has no need for the position of Indra or whatever is being enjoyed by Indra. Without having that knowledge, he just developed an insecurity. And out of that insecurity, he created Apsaras to distract Naranarayan Rishi. And when that insecurity was acted upon, so then it becomes envy in action. And that leads to offenses. And we can see that they don't obstruct the karmis, as Vishnu Chakra Thakur saying, because the karmis keep the whole system for the demigods, keep the whole system running for the demigods, because they give their shares. So they stay inside the system of reward. So the devatas are naturally rewarded, and they're seeking promotion within that same structure. So even them, when they cross a certain limit, Indra becomes insecure and creates a problem. We have seen that even in so many other instances, Indra creates difficulties for sages or for anyone who's performing better austerities, especially Ashwamedha. So then he becomes insecure. So it's not that the devatas are bad, but as the Bhagavatam shows, they are elevated beings, but they still carry material pride because their posts are very high. However, the modes still touch the heart. The bhakti is not very pure. So similarly, if if we are still under the influence of the three modes, and when our bhakti is not pure, it's highly likely that the symptom of envy, which is material contamination, is very much possible and present in the hearts of a practicing devotee. This is my position, and this is my domain, and this is my, what do you call, area. So it can become very strong because the insecurity could be there, or the practical um, details could be there. However, when people actively act upon those things to dampen someone else's devotional service actively, that actually amounts to an offense. So envy is not just is not like this hating someone. Of course, that the emotion of hate is not healthy either. It's basically also could be sometimes refusing to celebrate someone or someone's higher good. So, so it does not make one happy when someone else is achieving something or is performing good. So envy's antidote is appreciation also. Appreciation again done without any motivations. A lot of times appreciation also can be done out of envy. So just externally appreciating does not amount to anything for the one who is appreciating. The one who is receiving it may feel encouraged. However, an appreciation without done without coming from a good place, from a heart, when it is not heartfelt, when it is not really to actually glorify the other person, when it is done out of envy, so then that appreciation actually develops into duplicity. So that is why it is it is very important to look into our hearts. So not use these good qualities like appreciation as a way to actually again do a power game or to show as it cannot be a veiled attempt of envy. Rather, because when we use that, then we lose the very method that can actually help us overcome envy. So when appreciation is done out of lower motivations, then it takes away the opportunity for one to become actually purified. And one may consider that I'm externally doing the recommended measure of appreciating others. And again, miss the point that it should be done from a heartfelt place, not out of envy. For envy, basically, for one to actually overcome insecurity, one needs to strongly become situated on the platform of being uh, above the bodily conception, because bodily conception is the one which is pinning down one with insecurity and envy. So, as Prabhupada says repeatedly, that how we are not this body, we are a spirit soul. It may sound like a basic teaching. However, that teaching holds the foundation for one's spiritual life. That how, without that proper realization of it, a devotee can also be overcome by insecurity and envy. And naturally, by realizing oneself as the servant of the devotees, one will be gradually able to overcome the feelings of insecurity and envy. That is why one of the 5 angas of bhakti is to uh, develop the attitude, or in fact, be service to the Vaishnavas. So, serving the Vaishnavas is one of the 5 primary angas of bhakti. In fact, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says it's not the holy name, it's not the Sankirtan that is Yuga Dharma. He says Vaishnava Seva is the Yuga Dharma. Because the attitude of doing Sankirtan should also be that this is the service that I do to my spiritual teacher and other people and other devotees in general. So, if anything is done without the attitude of service, that is not very beneficial in reviving our identity of being a servant of the Supreme Lord. So, with those few thoughts, I would pause here. If there are any thoughts, any questions? Madhigel, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Um, yeah, I actually loved your last point, and what is I'm realizing is actually a reminder for me that the actual Yuga Dharma is not just the holy name; it's service to other living entities. Right? Yeah, I think that was such a beautiful point. Um, I did have one question though.
Mhm,
Um, you know, I think you made like a generalized statement that the devotion of the demigods is not very pure, because they have their attachment to their authority and powers and so on. I was just wondering though, since they too are living entities just like us, right? I mean, they're more empowered, but I don't know, somebody maybe needs to mute. Sounds like, okay. Yeah. So, since they are, the empowered versions of us, and since we cannot generalize about any one of us, right? Those of us who are in human forms, because we cannot know the heart of another person. Only Krishna really knows the level of devotion of any one of us. So I'm just wondering how much we can actually generalize about the devotion of demigods.
mhm. Thank you, Miguel. Um, I do see the purports are like both Vishnu Chakra Thakur as well as here the purports by disciples of Srila Prabhupada. They very uh, they state generally, because not that all devatas are envious, but in general uh, they could be. Here in specifically in this case, it is this Indra that we are specifically speaking about. So they are generalizing in the sense they are giving a universal mindset that anyone with a big power and is attached to that power
Hmm.
or aspiring for power, it's very natural because the modes are going to be very similar. So if someone is having that aspiration for power and is attached to power,
Hmm.
then it is
Yeah.
quite natural they'll become insecure of their potential competitors.
Oh yeah. Sure. Sure.
So, in that sense, the generalization is being done
Hmm.
more than a character judgment. It's being shown as a principle that how if someone is in the mode of passion and has an attachment,
Hmm.
and then that attachment, when faced with potential competition, could lead to a natural insecurity and envy, which that person might act out or not, but when acted out, that can actually lead, when especially that is in relation to a devotee or the Lord devotee, when that envy is acted out, that can actually become an obstacle. So that the principle is being generalized more than the devatas as a
Hmm.
template.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Yeah, and you also mentioned that I wasn't so clear about when it comes to non-devotees acting in envious ways, why somehow that is not such a problem because they are something about they're keeping the demigods in power or something by their sacrifice. I don't know. Can you just elucidate that part for me because I didn't get it properly.
Both, thank you, Miguel. Both Vishwanath Chakravarti as well as this purport speaks about that how, and the verse directly states that also. And here we see in the purport, let me pull it out. Now I'm not able to find it there. But for sure, like there is the section on the in the purport of Vishnu Chakra Thakur that how the performers of karma do not have obstacles. And why? Because they have given the proper share of sacrifice to Indra and others, like the farmers giving taxes to the king. That is how Vishnu Chakra Thakur explains that. The farmers give the tax to the king. So they are within the system. They are playing by the system. So usually the demigods don't have a problem. However, as I said, even in their case, if they become actually, if they are developing more pious credits, and if in any way Indra understands that this person is coming closer to becoming another Indra, then it becomes a problem for him. However, in Kali Yuga, hardly there is anyone who could do that level of piety. So it's not a problem in these days for anybody because they won't be able to perform Ashwamedha and all these pious works. In fact, I don't want to start another thread with 5 minutes before uh, for us to pause. There are places that we see both Prabhupada in his conversations or in we see some books of Gaur Govind Maharaj and his lectures speaks very clearly this phenomena that how devotees would be much more qualified to become these demigods because there is nothing else more pious in this material world to perform in Kali Yuga, the earthly realm, because Kali Yuga is not in the higher planetary systems. It is applicable to mainly the earthly realm. So during this Kali Yuga period, we don't have anything to develop piety. So devotees, if they have mixed desires, then they would become potential competitors and future candidates because the holy name can offer so much piety more than we can imagine. So if someone is performing Harinam for impressing others or for other motives, when we are performing devotional service, when it is covered by personal desire, insecurity, envy, then of course the offenses are there. Despite the removing the offenses, the piety could be more. And because if someone is actively desiring for power and name and fame through devotional service, then they could also end up in higher planetary systems. So in that way also, devotees could be seen as a competitor.
But you're saying though that for the non-devotees, they don't. I'm not sure they don't have obstacle when it comes to threatening a position like Indra's only.
It's again, as we see in the purport, it's a generalized statement. In general, they don't actually care for them because they are not there as competitors. Because why is Naranarayan Rishi being attacked? Because Naranarayan Rishi's stage is of austerity is so high that Indra is feeling insecure.
Mm-hmm.
But the general karmis who are just attached to enjoying things, they
Mm-hmm.
may not develop that much level of piety or credits to endanger his
Challenge.
position or challenge
Mm-hmm.
his position.
Mm-hmm.
However, if anyone,
Mm-hmm.
even if some karmi due to pious credits comes to actually endanger his position, then he will become that. It does not matter. Envy does not see. Envy can be towards one's own family member, between husband and wife, between parent and child, between friends. anything. We see even between guru and disciple, not in the case of Vaishnavas. We see Ramanujacharya's previous guru, Yadav Prakash. He becomes envious of Ramanujacharya when when Ramanujacharya's intelligence and scriptural knowledge and purity was higher than him. So, it is a very natural emotion. There is no logic. Anyone who crosses our line, we could potentially have the same reaction. That's why when we see if one of our friends is reacting in a certain way to another person, and if we also hate that person, and if we support our friend in expressing their base emotions, it's a danger, because tomorrow we can also be in the same position, and it applies to us also.
Yeah, that's
That is
actually the
why,
point. I'm sorry.
yeah, that's why relationships are so when they're superficial, uh, it can just change any moment.
Yeah. So therefore, a non-devotee becoming envious is not really a challenge to Indra, but a reaction is still that you will get your karmic reaction for such behavior. You're not going to incur the wrath of Indra because he's not challenged
Mm-hmm.
by such a peon, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't exclude you from getting karmic reactions from
And
your
the
envious
thrust of the verse
behavior.
is also that a devotee who's surrendered, who probably is the potential candidate, does not have to worry because he is already surrendered
You
to
mean he's
Krishna.
already, yes, he's already, he is already, he already desires whatever Krishna wants
Yes.
to do
So
with
in
him.
that
So
way, that's why the
he's
verse
not
is
worried.
saying, yeah, the verse is saying surrendered devotees do not need to worry. And the demigods themselves are saying that too. So the idea is if someone becomes fully surrendered to Krishna, then there is no need to worry about that. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it is
Okay. Thank you so
it is
much.
time. Yeah, it's time for
Oh, Yashi Shri Radha Lita, dear Lord Gaurchandra, dear Lord Nrsimhadev, dear Bhakta Prahlad, dear.
Mother Gail, you're not on mute.
Ki jai, Bhagavan ki jai, Shingadev Bhagavan ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can obtain pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates, and by him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of this character. Our spiritual master is the ocean person, the friend of the poor and the Lord and master of his lotus. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. May your fame be spread all over the world. We take shelter at your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Temple. Jaya Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, welcome to the Afterglow. Would anyone like to speak in line with Guru Saran Shastra? No? Okay. Venu Madhuri, nice to see you. Isaiah Prabhu, are you ready to chant? Yes? Good. Sage Sky, are you ready to chant? No, I don't see them. Okay, Isaiah, you have to chant 3 times louder than you normally do. Can you do that? Yes. Go for it, Isaiah. Annabelle, are you there? Hare Krishna, nice to see you. Okay, guys, loudly.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Isaiah. Thank you, Annabelle. Can I see your teeth, Isaiah? Can I see that cool gap? Oh, very cool. Very cool. Ram, look. You see that? Isn't that cool? Isaiah, you're the coolest devotee on this call. Thank you very much. Okay, Hare Krishna. We love you. We need you.